The 21st century begins October 1, 1982. Epcot Center, Walt Disney World.
Step into the future in Epcot Center's newest invention. If you were lucky enough to take a trip to Walt Disney World in the 80s and 90s, chances are you took at least one ride on Horizons. Step into the future today.
Here, you'll reach for new horizons, a spectacular odyssey into the future, where you'll discover the envisioned technologies of the 21st century and beyond. Here you'll visit a city of tomorrow, desert farm, space colony, and undersea city.
For the whole human race, there is time, there is space, as we reach for new horizons.
When Horizons opened in 1983, a young Dave Ensign, aka Hoot Gibson, rode the ride for the very first time and was instantly obsessed. Every week, Hoot would make a trip up to Epcot Center, always making it a point to ride his favorite ride, Horizons. Then, in 1986, Hoot met another Horizons superfan by the name of Ed Barlow Jr., aka Thunder Chief. Hoot and Chief shared a strong bond for theme parks and became best friends. Together they obsessed over Horizons until one fateful day in 1994 when Hoot received a shocking call from Chief. Without warning, Horizons had closed.
From all of us, thanks for exploring Horizons.
It had been a little more than a year since General Electric had ended its sponsorship of the attraction, and ride fans were devastated. Hoot and Chief were disappointed that they were not given the chance to properly say goodbye to their favorite ride. Hoot realized that he had only taken a handful of faded photos while on the ride and was furious. He knew that if he was given the chance to ride the ride just one more time, he would do it all differently. Fortunately for them, that day would come exactly 1 year later, when in 1995, Horizons reopened. Two other attractions were down for refurbishment at the time, Universe of Energy and World of Motion. This created a lack of attractions at Epcot, forcing Disney to reopen Horizons to satisfy guests. This was exciting news for Hoot and Chief. One night after getting off from their boring desk jobs, Hoot and Chief met for a drink. It was that night that they decided to take it upon themselves to document every last inch of Horizons before it ever closed again. And with that, their work could begin.
Attention Horizons passengers. Our travels will be briefly delayed. Please remain seated. Your vehicle will begin moving again at any moment. Please remain seated.
Surprisingly, Horizons was one of the few Disney rides ever built without any security system. There were no pressure mats, no infrared, no security cameras, and zero supervision by any Disney cast members. On top of that, it was one of the only Disney dark rides ever built without any seat restraints or seat belts. This meant that they could explore the ride all they wanted to, so long as they were not seen by passing guests.
There's a way out right there. Oh, cool. There's an actual walkway and a stairway back there.
You've got to be kidding. I'm a very punctual guy.
Oh, now it was cute.
Icosahedral.
But I hope you'll at least try to be on time tonight. I mean, it is a party.
I know it's a party.
Last Saturday night.
Yeah, well, that was it. Be serious now. Why would I be late?
If we could actually find out where that was, we would know we could get into the ride right there. Or if we got stuck or something, we know we could get out right there.
The two needed a system for not getting caught, so they came up with one that they called the Gap.
This is us waiting for the Gap.
Yeah, this is the hell wait.
The brave Gap.
This is the worst part of the entire experience.
The way the Gap worked was simple. Chief would hang out right near the load area and watch people get on the ride, while Hoot stayed back where people entered the building. Chief would count empty ride vehicles, making sure that there were at least 6 people ahead and 6 behind them.
This is a ride. No, it's not. Yes, it is.
Shuttles means never, because we never get again.
Hoot would give a signal to Chief in case somebody entered the building.
We'll count some cars.
Once the gap was large enough between them and the next guests on the ride, they would get on the ride and check their vehicle number, since every vehicle in Horizons was numbered. As soon as they rounded the corner, they would jump out and get as far ahead as possible. Then, by keeping count of the cars, they had a precise idea of how much time they had per scene.
128?
128? Okay. I didn't know if you looked at the number or not. Oh shit.
That guy see us?
No. Who cares?
Where'd he go? Is he gone?
Yeah, I think they're gone.
Their first night was a success. They went on a few more adventures before they started to bring along friends, like their friend Bionic Fonzie.
Yeah.
Did you catch the car number?
Watch out, there's people right up there.
Did you catch the car number?
20.
This is 13. Yeah, it's empty.
You want to try for one more before it closes?
Yeah, we got 5 minutes.
We got like 8 minutes. We might actually get a half a decent gap.
One more time.
They slowed it for the wheelchair. But they had just went around the corner.
Attention, Berlin. Please remain seated.
Oh, fuck.
Your vehicle will begin moving again at any moment.
We might as well get a couple cars ahead so we can get a head start on it.
Yeah, sure.
Exploring the ride the way they were was risky and dangerous. According to Hoot, Chief actually cut his head wide open once or twice while exploring the ride. As for Hoot, his most significant injury would be caught on camera during this adventure. Right as Hoot and Chief are about to exit the space scene, Hoot had stepped on a rotten piece of plywood and permanently injured his foot.
Shit, you alright, Dave?
Yeah, I fell into outer space.
Oh, fuck, man.
God damn, I can't believe I did that.
Where was it that you fell? Right there? Right on that? Yeah, on this shit. Oh.
Although they made it through the rest of the night just fine, Hoot can still feel a pain in his foot to this very day.
Oh, cool. Alright, let's go.
Sometimes there were details they found that were not meant to be seen by riders. For example, at the top of this scene, there's a girl bathing in a bathtub. When Hoot climbed up there, he discovered that the animatronic was actually sculpted to be fully naked. This was probably a joke hidden by the ride makers, since the riders are not supposed to see her torso in the first place.
Well, let me get one more shot of the sign and then I'll close it.
Brace yourself.
The ultimate automotive experience.
Never-ending tourist.
So when are you gonna close it?
We're closed.
I mean, good.
From what I heard today, we just had a meeting. It said as soon as that's up and going and smooth.
I'm Richard Jenny, and I'll see you here at the test track.
As soon as that's up and and it's going and it's functioning, whatever, then they're gonna go ahead and shut this down.
Shut this
That
down.
was our favorite ride. Wanna go to the desert?
I think we got a pretty good gap behind us, but I want to go into the cave, man.
Shit, we're only on 13.
Stand by for rock then hold for further instructions.
Oh, I need to get a picture of the speaker.
Hey, Mom! What is it, Tommy? Look, Mom, I'm flying!
170 right here.
I don't know what I'm gonna
Fonzie was not the only friend they invited along on their adventures. Other friends like Spike Tripper joined the duo a few times, as well as Hoot's girlfriend at the time, Sunnyside. After this particular adventure seen in this photo, Hoot and Sunnyside got married and have been happily married ever since. Their newly found confidence and exploration nearly became their downfall on one particular Wednesday night. Their goal on this night was to explore the undersea section of the ride and to finally make it to the bottom of the ocean. Hoot and Chief had a healthy gap, just enough to jump down through the hole and get some pictures of the sea floor.
Relax, Clover. Come on, kids. Underwater safety's no joke. Scott? Yes?
But in their rush of excitement, they overlooked one small detail. The hole they jumped into was too high to jump back out of, and in just a few seconds they'd be in full view of the guests.
Hey, how are we gonna get out of here and back to our vehicle? Oh shit. Take cover.
They were forced to take refuge behind a rock in which a blinking octopus stood guard. Hoot and Chief waited.
There goes our gap.
I can't see the ride vehicles. I'll take a peek.
Attention Horizons passengers.
Shit!
The two were now stuck hiding behind the rock. Suddenly, a little boy saw Hoot's foot sticking out from behind the rock.
Is a man down there? Damn it.
Hoot pulled himself in tighter. It was a long breakdown. Minutes turned into tens of minutes. There was simply no way out. Suddenly, the ride started up again. Hoot and Chief decided it was time to make their escape.
I guess we just go for it.
Yep. Here comes a few empty cars.
Let's go.
Aside from that little kid, no one else noticed them that night.
Well, that sucked, man. That sucked. That was the suck. Yep.
After exploring the ride the same way for a while now, the two decided to do something different.
Here we are, our little hiding place.
Inside,
Behind Easy Living.
Somebody has cut a hole in the canvas flat.
Right there. In this weird triangular dead space.
They were going to try staying in the ride for an extended amount of time. They were paranoid that a cast member at the front was keeping track of who was riding in what car at a single time. If the ride was stopped in approximately 10 minutes, they might be in trouble.
Well, we're coming up on like 10, 11, 12 minutes or so.
Yep.
So we're gonna wait. See if the sirens go off.
Attention Horizons passengers. Our travels will be briefly delayed. Please remain seated.
Want to find a hiding space until they start it up again?
Lucky for them, the ride continued and there seemed to be zero problems.
And your vehicle are traveling at equal speed.
After 4 hours of exploring the ride, the two finally stepped out, victorious.
Take a bow, Dave.
Four goddamn hours later.
That was amazing.
You want to ride again?
They were now able to stay in the ride as long as they wanted, meaning new adventures were possible, like adventuring underneath the sets or exploring in the rafters.
I've never paid attention to that shit on that screen on that health scan. I've never looked up and actually saw the little, the projector doing that stuff.
I guess I never did either.
That's cool as shit, man.
Here, they are looking down on things such as the space set from afar, as well as the birthday hologram scene from the perspective of the animatronics. This is a video from their first and last trip up to one of the top floor mechanical rooms. Here we can see the top of the Horizons ride vehicle track, with even a little paintbrush for wiping grease off. Exploring these rooms made them feel unsafe and prone to being discovered, making this a rare trip.
See? I got you. Oh shit. This doesn't go right into the projector. Projection. It's locked. Oh shit.
Man, that sucks. So I guess that must be a stairwell that goes all the way up to the roof. Must be. Alright, now I'm recording. Hi. Always late, man. You gotta be kidding. That's very punctual. That's the kitchen right over there. You on? Yeah. Right above our heads is the father and the boy. Well, actually right up over there. When was the last time I was late? Right up over our heads behind us is where the girl sits talking to her boyfriend. David and Space Key. Now here's the cave. That was our first camp base.
A smart idea that Hoot had was capturing raw, static shots of the Mesa Verde scene from different angles.
Just leave my camera where it's at. Okay, I got it set up so it looks like you're staring at that grove watching one of them things. You can look there and look at the viewfinder. Okay.
Staying on the ride soon became old hat, and the two would stay on the ride for 8 hours at a time. They would eat dinner there, and one time even wash themselves in the Mesa Verde waterfall. When riders would ride through the Mesa Verde scene, a familiar orange scent would be blasted into the air. On this adventure, they found the actual scent cannon that was used to blast the smell of orange during the ride. One night, while exploring the backdrops behind each set, they set Chief's camera up to film people riding through the ride.
Hey, my rear battery's already dying. Shit. People are still on it. You can see people? Yep. But the rear battery dies when I use the light. Does it see him?
Cool. Easy street. Fuck yes.
While walking behind the cars, the unthinkable happened. As they rounded the corner, a maintenance worker spotted them.
Run! Holy shit!
Chief remembered a secret door they used many times, and he ran into it.
That door right there probably goes out into the undersea.
Take that!
Quick, dude, to the hole!
They walked underneath the easy living scene to find their trusted hiding place. Things started to feel bleak.
They just stopped the ride.
Now we're fucked.
We sure did it this time.
Fuck yes we did. Our gear's in Mesa Verde base camp.
We have to get it.
Hoot heard the ride running again and snuck out to take a peek, only to see the workers riding the ride looking for the two of them. Meanwhile, their camera was still left out in the open in the future living section, and guests were starting to notice it. Suddenly, Hoot and Chief made a mad dash from their hiding spot and jumped into two open cars. They were only 10 cars behind their pursuers. They rode all the way to where they had left their cameras. When they got there, they made a break for the camera and got it back successfully.
At least we got her shit.
Now all we have to do is find a way out.
They decided to run back to the harvester scene to see if they were still being followed. The workers were nowhere to be seen, and the ride was packed with guests.
When I stand up right there, I'm looking right at the kid's butt.
Unfortunately for them, the only way to get back in their car would be to do so in full view of the other riders. Chief was all for it, so they did it.
Hiya, folks.
Never mind us.
Chief's other idea was for the two of them to act like a couple as they got off the ride, so they did that too.
Watch your step onto the moving beltway, dear.
Okay, honey.
Have a good night.
You too, sweetie.
The employees gave them weird looks as they walked out of the ride. They blended into the crowd and left that night without anyone asking any questions. In all of their adventures and escapades, the adventurous Hoot and Chief were never caught once.
You can ride along at the new test track presented exclusively by General Motors. Open now at Walt Disney.
The two came up with some crazy ideas on how to end their adventures. One idea was to pick a car just behind them and load it full of every prop they could move. Chairs, lamps, anything not nailed down to give the cast members a shock when this car full of stuff pulled into the exit. Another idea was to spend the day running naked through the scenes until they got arrested. They even had an idea to carry super soakers in with them and drench the guests as they rounded the scuba class scene. But after exploring the ride for months and months, Hoot and Chief decided to ride the ride one last time, the way it was intended. They walked out and sat in front of Horizons. It was officially over for them and everyone else. They sat and looked at the pastel wonder they had tried to document, and then they went home.
Well, Michael, I can really tell you how excited I am to be with us here tonight to formally announce our business alliance with Compaq and to announce a brand new attraction here at Epcot.
Mission Space combines the art of storytelling with fantastic technology, all with the sole aim of transporting our guests to a place they've never been, never even dreamed they could go, Mars.
10 years went by, and many Horizons fan websites sprouted up on the internet. Then, in 2009, Hoot and Chief started their own Horizons website, a place for photos and videos, stories, and even comics to be shared. The blog was updated until 2011, when the last of the footage had been digitized and uploaded. The adventures of Hoot and Chief had now been documented forever.
Do I look like the kind of girl?
Tell me what those are, Draven.
These are film strips from Horizons.
Wow, which one is that? Is that the redhead?
This is the redhead.
Yes, it is. You've got a whole...
That's the whole fucking
this is what
reel?
this is what we find in the trash can. They would just throw when they would change out the reel, they would just throw this whole thing in the trash can.
Blasphemy.
So on one of our trips, we just got lucky in one of the rooms. We looked, it was like, holy shit, look what's in the trash can.
That's awesome.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
What Hoot and Chief accomplished was truly a lightning-in-a-bottle experience. Since Horizons, Disney rides and theme parks in general have become increasingly security sensitive, making what the two of them did impossible to ever recreate.
I'm so pumped on this one.
Fruit veggies. Oh wow.
Triple apple.
What do we got here?
This is from
Triple
the
apple?
kitchen.
Okay.
The Easy Living kitchen with
nice.
with spilt milk and shit.
Whatever that weird...
Pine-ana. And I got several of these that are in different sizes.
Because those are on the bushes in the harvester seeing. Like going
What, the
up.
pine-anas are?
I can't
Yeah.
Oh,
All those
okay.
little ones were all stuck to the bushes.
So there's like the little ones that were just at the top and then the...
Oh,
weird.
the fruit? Shut up! What?
Wow.
Found them.
So cool!
We fell in our bags.
Yeah, we never took anything that made it like that hurt the ride.
Right.
These are funny because these are just your normal plastic eggs. But you
Yeah.
remember in front of the Future Living, right when you came around and Dad's inside, you know, the glass thing. There's these futuristic like looking plants like right there in the flower
Oh,
bed.
okay. Yeah.
It was these, you know, purpley painted eggs that were on those bushes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
People went in there when they closed the ride and they were going to tear it down. They looted the place. Just crazy stuff that people swiped. A bunch of film strips and
Yeah.
For one particular type of thing.
The backpack full of goodness.
My yellow flashlight that you see in the videos.
Oh yeah? Nice.
My Mickey hat.
Oh yeah. I remember that one.
See?
He looks the same.
for the gap.
That's it.
In June of 2014, Chief passed away after a battle with cancer. He was only 46 years old.
Hi.
Chief's final wish was for Hoot to perform one last act of theme park delinquency in his honor, to scatter his ashes at the place where the two of them had first met all of those years ago.
Okay, we made it into Coke Corner. Of course, this is where I met Ed 29 years ago. I have the remains of my best friend strapped in my pants, and I'm about to switch him over to this drink cup and go take care of business. Well, I did it. I didn't think I'd get so shook up about it, though. But that's where you want to be, so it's done. Probably forever. That's all I got. Mission accomplished.